everybody, it's Barbie time. Ow, oh my god, I literally hurt myself and there's a stinking bug flying around in my face. Oh boy. Okay, let's get into this. This is Girl Power History, where we talk about interesting women throughout, well, history and all that good stuff. Yes, so today, the particular woman that we are talking about today she was an inventor, she was a businesswoman, she's possibly a criminal, and she invented the Barbie doll. This is Ruth Handler, and let's get into her story. Come on Barbie, let's go party. Oh yeah. I had to say it. I had to get it out of the way. Now it's out of the way. I never have to say it anymore. So let me set my setup for you guys. I got my fake plants, my fake authors, my pink wall, and of course my boys Henry Cavill and Jason Momoa. They're here representing the masculine energy of the space, because this is a very feminine space, very pink clearly, which is appropriate for Barbie. And my chin is actually still hurting from when I just smacked it earlier in this video. Oh, I'm probably gonna have a mark. That's okay. We don't care about that. Alrighty, potty. Yeah, let's get into her story. So, righty, potty. Ruth Handler. She was born in Denver, Colorado on November 4th, 1916. to Polish-Jewish immigrant parents. The main focus of today's Girl Power History is about Ruth, as well as her boyfriend, future husband, Elliot Handler. Now, Ruth was married to her high school boyfriend, Elliot, and moved to Los Angeles in 1938 to be with him. Now, Ruth, met Elliot when she was only 16 at a school dance. This is Ruth, this is her husband, Elliot. They saw each other across the room, and they fell immediately in love. But as like all awkward teenagers do, they were like, hey, Ruth, hey, Elliot, would you care to dance? Oh yeah, I'd love to dance. And, you know, I think we'd make a perfect match. Yeah, I completely agree so. Okay, yeah, do we want to get married? Heck yeah, we should definitely get married. Yes, all in the span of one night. No, of course not. But yes, they met in high school when she was 16. And now the funny thing is, Elliot, he wanted to be an artist actually at the time, but her parents were like, no, we don't want him. He's not a good match for you, Ruth. Because their parents, you know, they pictured him as a starving artist living on the streets, not being able to support their daughter. But then it was okay, because Ruth later found a job in Los Angeles working as a secretary for Paramount Pictures. So her parents were like, oh, you're good, you're okay, no drama, you're fine, it's cool. You can leave together. These two moved from Colorado to California while Ruth worked as a secretary. Elliot went to art school and later got a job working and designing light fixtures. Now, this entire point of this video is to talk about this power couple who were business people. Now, where their sort of business entrepreneurial mindset started was Elliot decided that he wanted to design furniture for their home. And a lot of it was made out of lucite and plexiglass. Now Ruth was like, you know, you should really turn this into a business. And he was like, oh, hun, that's such a great idea. So they started a furniture business together. While Elliot worked on building the furniture, on that business side of it, Ruth worked on the sales side of it. So she helped the furniture business land contracts and really take off financially. Now Elliot was the sort of initial inventor in their family. Now Elliot met a man named Harold Matt Madsen. Bada bing! And these two became business partners. They're like, yeah, you want to be my business partner? Oh, that'd be great. And yes, they're wearing matching outfits, if you couldn't tell, just in different colors. Now, they formed a small company to manufacture picture frames. And they called the company Mattel, which was a combination of their names, Matt and Elliot. So, ergo, Mattel. And I'm sure if you're a fan of Barbie, or if you've ever heard of Barbie, you probably know the name Mattel. Now, from their manufacturing company, they used left behind scraps that they didn't need to make dollhouse furniture. So the dollhouse furniture became more profitable than the picture frames that they were making. So then the two of them decided to focus on toy manufacturing. Toys? Yes, toys. Okay, that sounds great. I know. Okay, let's go. There you go. Now, the companies, Mattel, their first big seller product was a ukulele named Yukadoodle. Yukadoodle? Yukadoodle. Yes, it was a toy ukulele. Mattel as a company selling and making dollhouse furniture didn't do the greatest. I mean, they made some money, but not a whole ton of money. What happened was a lot of other competitors were able to sell other doll furniture for a fraction of the cost that Elliot and Matt were selling it for. And so they were just kind of screwed over. And the ukulele that they sold, which again was a big seller, eventually later wasn't a big seller anymore because again, cheaper imitations of the ukulele toy were being made. So these two were like, oh, what are we doing wrong? I don't know what we're doing wrong. We need to think. We need to come up with a new idea. You were so right. Okay, let's do this. Now, Mattel as a company was struggling. But then, in comes Ruth. Let's talk about how the Barbie doll actually came to be. Now, Ruth noticed her daughter Barbara, who was becoming a preteen, so a tween at this time, played with, oh, get this, paper dolls, like I am. That her daughter Barbara was playing with paper dolls and pretending that they were adults. And so Ruth thought it was so interesting that her daughter would use these paper dolls to play out, future events rather than the present itself. So like dolls getting married, buying houses, just real life world things that you usually use paper dolls to play with. That sentence didn't make any sense, so just forget that. But Ruth, the kicker though, she noticed with paper dolls, they had a limitation. And that the clothes never stay on. If you've watched any of my other girl power history videos, you know that these paper dolls, their clothes struggle to stay on. And so Ruth was like, I have an idea. So she wanted to produce a three-dimensional plastic paper doll with an adult body and a wardrobe of fabric clothing that wouldn't constantly keep falling off of the doll. So when she went to her husband, oh my God, speaking of dolls not keeping their clothes on, his outfit literally just came off. That just proved Ruth's point right there. Where did it go? Matt, he's gonna stay out of the picture. So Ruth went to her husband and Matt, but I only have so many hands to use. So she went to the two men and was like, yes, I have this idea of this doll. But her husband and Matt were like, we don't like that idea. Because they thought that parents would not buy their children a doll that had a sort of adult, voluptuous body. Little did they know. Now, when her family was vacationing in Germany, she noticed a doll called the West German build Lily doll, which was not a children's toy, but rather an adult gag gift, apparently. But she brought the doll home. She was like, this is interesting. Because this Lily doll was a representation of what Ruth had in her mind for a doll for her daughter. Because the doll was different than a lot of the baby-like dolls that girls had at this time. Which I mean, girls still have, well, girls and boys, both boys and girls, still have baby doll-like dolls, of course, but nothing like a womanly doll. Don't take that out of context. It existed like this, except for this Lily German doll, which again wasn't actually even made for children. Dolls at this point again were mostly just baby dolls. So Ruth was like, for girls that are entering into teenagehood, so that tween stage, so like 9, 10, that age, they're too old to play with baby dolls. They're sort of losing that interest, right? But there's no doll for them to sort of play with as they enter into their teenhood years, to sort of enact out their teenhood years before they enter into them. So when she got back home, she reworked the name to be Barbie, which of course was named after her daughter Barbara. Now, Barbie actually debuted at the New York Toy Fair on March 9th, 1959, but was not an immediate success. I mean, I don't think people really wanted this doll at first. Ruth, being the smart businesswoman that she is, was like, how can I get Barbie in front of kids? How can I get them to want to buy this doll? Well, now, at the time, Disney came up with their show, The Mickey Mouse Club. So Ruth and the Mattel company invested heavily into advertising during the Mickey Mouse Club to showcase Barbie. And this investment paid off because Barbie skyrocketed in sales. And it took Ruth and her husband, who I'm too lazy to pick up, to stardom, to fame, fortune, all that good stuff. But of course, controversy came, plenty of feminists, which now I am a feminist. But I also love Barbie. Well, I don't play with Barbie anymore, okay? But you'll bet I loved Barbie as a kid. I actually preferred playing with Bratz dolls when I was a little girl, because they were like such a big thing when I was a little girl. But you know, I still loved Barbie when I was a kid. Come on, of course. I think you can be a feminist and love Barbie dolls and Bratz dolls and who else are there? Monster High dolls. I think you can be a feminist and love these things, okay? See nothing wrong with that. But there were feminists who were like, we don't like this. They were concerned that Barbie's bodily proportions was going to send the wrong message to young girls. So Barbie's measurements, if they were translated into a real life woman, would be this. She's 5'6". Her measurements would have been a 39, 21, and 33 in terms of her breast size and waist size and all that good stuff. So that type of measurement, 39, 21, and 33, is an extremely rare occurrence in real life. To essentially get some of those body measurements, you'd probably need plastic surgery. However, Ruth stuck to her guns and she was like, you know, but Barbie gives girls options. You know, Barbie has a range of careers to showcase young girls that they have all the options in the world. That girls can do whatever they set their minds to. So this is a quote that Ruth, not Barbara, this is a quote that Ruth said. My philosophy of Barbie was that through the doll, the little girl could be anything she wanted to be. Barbie always represented the fact that a woman has choices, which is incredible, really. And I think is partly why Barbie has so stood the test of time today. Now, I wanted to just point out a few different of Barbie's careers. There's a ton of them, but just like a couple. Barbie actually has had over 200 careers. A few being, she's been an art teacher, a yoga teacher, a music teacher, a doctor, a surgeon, a vet, an army medic, an army officer, a paratrooper, a CEO, president, a UNICEF ambassador, a firefighter, a judge, an astronaut, a paleontologist, an engineer, a pilot, a flight attendant, a ballerina, a chef, a designer, a fashion model, film director, rapper, hairstylist, banker, McDonald's cashier, basketball player, a gymnast, a snowboarder, a ballroom dancer. She's even been a stinking superhero, you guys. That's how flipping awesome Barbie is. Just saying. Now, in 1996, funny enough, the year I was born, Barbie dolls and the Barbie paraphernalia had reached over $1.7 billion in revenue for Mattel. So what did I say? Money, 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 money. Now, Ruth was actually the first woman elected to the Toy Manufacturers Association Board of Directors, and she was the first woman appointed to the Federal Reserve Board. Now, let's actually kind of talk about Ruth's criminal activity, because, like, why not? Now, Ruth was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1970. She had a modified mastectomy, which is, you know, where you have your breast removed. Now, because of that, there weren't that many good prosthetic breast alternatives at the time. So Ruth was like, oh, I'm going to make my own. I am going to make my own breasts. That sounded really weird. But she decided to make her own breast prosthetics that she thought were more realistic and better for women who were in her type of position. But the kicker was, after she had, well, it was actually her left breast that she had to remove, she became depressed, right? And she lacked a lot of self-confidence. And like I said, her inability to find a prosthetic breast that made her look even, right? So she was really struggling with that. At this time, Mattel was under investigation for illegal accounting practices. And again, that's when Ruth decided that she wanted to manufacture and sell prosthetic breasts. The name of the product was called Nearly Me. In 1974, Ruth resigned from Mattel after investigations of producing fraudulent financial reports were happening. And in 1978, Ruth was charged with fraud and false reporting to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, she pleaded no contest and was fined $57,000 and was sentenced to 2,500 hours of community service. But the kicker was she blamed her illness, she blamed, her going through cancer and later depression, on why she was became unfocused on her business and what led to her facing charges. But then she described this mistake in her autobiography as this: "We should have stayed in the toy business, accepted a slower growth rate, and resisted the temptation to acquire so freely. Our organization was not really equipped to evaluate and control so many diverse companies, and our internal auditing capability was inadequate to ferret out the problems in advance." So they just kind of got in over their head. Again, she's dealing with breast cancer, they got in over their head, they tried expanding beyond just the toy manufacturing, and that's kind of what led to this problem. And actually in 1970, Mattel's plant in Mexico was destroyed by a fire, which actually necessitated the cancellation of 1/3 of that year's Christmas orders. And the following year, a shipyard strike in the Far East cut off their toy supplies during their busiest season. Their financial records showed an income millions of dollars of orders that had been placed but not fulfilled. So for 2 years, in 1971 and 1972, Mattel issued false and misleading financial reports. So they just got in way over their heads. All this bad stuff was happening. They again reported false finances, and that's how she got in trouble. Even though, like I said, she only had to pay her fine and do her community service hours, she initially actually had a 41-year sentence. Initially, after this whole financial scandal happened. But again, it was essentially suspended, and all she had to do was her community service hours and pay her fine. Her husband, Elliot, who was not part of the day-to-day running of the company, he was exonerated, so he got lucky. So what happened was, to settle, Ruth turned over 2.5 million shares of their own stock, which described by Ruth as half of everything we worked for in the previous 30 years. So in 1980, the Handlers, so Ruth and her husband, cashed in most of the remaining Mattel stock, which was worth around $18.5 million, ending their involvement in the company, Mattel, that they had founded. The nice thing is the company was able to reestablish itself, obviously, because it's still a thing today. And within a few years, it was again back to being the world's largest toy enterprise. Sales in 1997 were $4.8 billion, assets were $3.8 billion, and profits were $285 million. So Mattel was back on top, even though Ruth and her husband were not a part of it any longer. Now let's end this video like we always do, talking about Ruth's death. I don't know why I always say it so weirdly. I always feel like I'm going to get in trouble or something for saying it like I say it, but that's okay. So Ruth ended up unfortunately dying in California from complications of surgery for colon cancer on April 27th, 2002. She was 85 years old, so she didn't live a very long life. And Elliot, her husband, he died 9 years later at the age of 94. Now, of course, Ruth and her husband, their lasting legacy is, of course, Mattel and the Barbie doll, which is still thriving today. The Barbie doll, through the Barbie fashionistas line, that's a weirdly tough word for me to pronounce, comes in several body types, skin tones, and hairstyles. So it's really I think revitalized the Barbie name. This has allowed the doll to reflect more people, more little boys and girls that play with Barbie, to reflect different skin tones, different body types, different hairstyles. That is so important. Of course, we know that Barbie has her TV shows and her games and her movies and like a ton of stuff. It's so amazing. Like if you compare Barbie to, let's say, the Bratz dolls, for example, which again, I loved Bratz when I was a little girl, but the reality is Bratz haven't survived. You know, people of my generation, you know, girls, women, my age, a lot of you probably grew up playing Bratz like I did, but they haven't survived. Barbie, on the other hand, has continued to thrive. I think because she's just a classic. She's so universally loved. The fact that Mattel has not been afraid to branch out and represent more people in their Barbie line is why it has still remained relevant today in, well, 2021 when I'm filming this video. And I think that's pretty cool. So that was the life and death of Ruth Handler, the woman who invented the Barbie doll. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you do subscribe, next week we will be talking about the woman who was a big part of discovering the DNA structure and might have had her work stolen. I don't know. So subscribe to stay tuned for next week for that. And alright, Patty, well, I hope you guys have a beautiful, wonderful day, and see you guys. I cannot believe his stinking dress came off. Her dress, his dress, whoever's dress. The dress came off. I'm telling you. Man, Ruth really had a point. These dolls do not like to keep their clothes on.